What a surprise there. There really hasn't been a mass take-up of electric vehicles in this country, partly because they're soddingly well expensive, but also a lot of people want to have a more reliable car if they haven't got anywhere to charge it. I live in a flat. I don't know where the hell I'm supposed to be charging my electric car outside my home. Let's talk about this with Ross Clark. He's author of the brilliant book Not Zero: How an Irrational Target Will Impoverish You, Help China and Won't Even Save the Planet. A very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thanks for joining us. Now, the reason I want to talk to you is because we are told today that the UK is on the, quote, cusp of an electric car charging point revolution. I didn't know that was such a thing, but an electric car charging point revolution is a thing. The number of plug-in stations set to increase considerably in the next years. That's going to apparently be a game changer. And also, apparently, 2024 was a record year for wind power. So it's all looking up on the issue of clean energy. And people like you and I, well, I mean, let's say we're obviously far right, because we were told that by James Matthews from the Labour Party earlier, that even questioning net zero policies makes you far right now. You and I have been wrong about everything, because it's all going to be about electric vehicles, wind power, and that's the future. Do you think that is true?
No, well, we'll start with the wind power. Earlier this week, we had claims that Britain generated a record amount of electricity last year from wind power, about 30%, and it exceeded the amount of power we generated from gas. But what the enthusiasts for green power weren't so quick to point out was that we also imported a record amount of energy. 16% of all the electricity we used in Britain last year was imported via subsea cables from France, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, and so on. And it's a sign of the failure of our power system.
Why would we need to import it if we were producing enough? But also, that, of course, that doesn't count. And even if that electricity is actually produced by gas, as it often is, that doesn't count in our carbon emissions, does it? In any of the net zero stuff, because if it comes from abroad, it doesn't count.
Some countries we're importing electricity from, Belgium, Netherlands, they still have some coal plants. So we've closed all our coal plants down because it's sort of bad for the environment and, high carbon emissions. But then we import some sort of coal-powered electricity.
Yeah, but it doesn't go on the balance sheet, Ross, so it doesn't matter.
So that's really,
I mean, it is a mad world. And also the key thing is you can produce, you say 30% of electricity. Again, it's of electricity, not energy. Electricity being only a fifth of our needs for energy. But you can produce that record amount of wind power. However, if the days you don't produce it, you, funnily enough, still need to have power.
Well, you do, and the government hasn't sort of resolved this issue. And Ed Miliband's latest plan is to keep all our gas-powered power stations open and in service, but just not use them very much. Well,
okay.
I mean, the cost of doing that, the cost of keeping all these gas power stations online and maintained, ready to go when the sun goes in and the wind drops, I mean, that's going to cost a fortune.
We're going to be basically paying twice for our electricity.
Yes.
But this is the key thing. We're going to be needing not less electricity in future. We're going to be needing more, because we're going to be, moving apparently, to electric vehicles. We've still got all those mandates. We've still got fines. I know there's a little bit of offsetting being allowed for some of the car manufacturers, but still huge fines, 15 grand per car sold that is not an electric vehicle for any manufacturer in this country, which of course puts up the price of both electric and the petrol and diesel vehicles. But we're told, as I say, the UK is on this cusp of an electric car charging point revolution. The number of plug-in stations are going to increase considerably. More than 120 planning applications for plug points worth more than £500 million have been granted in the last 18 months. And they're basically going to have a load more charging points. And so that means more people are going to want to buy these green cars. How do you think that's going to work out?
Well, a lack of charging points is certainly one of the main reasons why motorists and private motorists in particular are very shy of buying electric cars, because, around a third of British homes do not have off-street parking.
No,
and then you become reliant on the public charging sockets, which are sparse and often out of order and expensive.
Yeah. We had one put in a few years ago, just near our home. Frankly, I thought Camden Council did it deliberately, just to take the mick out of me. I really did. Just the only one in the street happened to be outside my home. It broke down after 6 months, never been mended.
No, well, that's a problem. But also my question is, how much is the electricity going to cost from these new charging points? Because at the moment, if you charge at home, you can get a tariff which you pay about 7 pence off. 7 pence per kilowatt hour off peak for your electricity. Charge your car. If you go to a public charging station, that costs you an average of 57 pence per kilowatt hour for a slow charger and 80 pence per kilowatt hour for a rapid charger. You know, it's as if there's two networks of petrol pumps, one which can only be used by the relatively wealthy, where the fuel is £1.30 a litre, and then another network which can be used by everyone else, where the fuel is £13.
Yeah, but it is part of the whole deal, isn't it? They don't want us owning cars at all. They don't want us travelling. We've got these massive green surcharges that are going to go on family holidays abroad. I mean, you come from our holidays, you know how I feel about that. Ross Clark, always good to talk to you, always making sense out of the madness and, frankly, the dishonest claims that are constantly made on this issue. Claire Pearsall, what do you say about your useless Tory government doing exactly the same madness as this useless Labour government?
But I called it out for being useless at the time.
I
like my petrol car. I shall keep my petrol car for some time and probably get a bigger engine one.
Yeah, we got a diesel one. The moment they're going to be outlawed, which I don't think they ever will do, we're just going to go buy another diesel car the day before. Simple as that. As I think any sane person will do. But there we are.